Is it working now? It should be. It's supposed to be. I'm going to try something else. It should tell me that I've got a live stream going, but no. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Well, maybe we can move this to my own. Let's see if that works. All right. I'm all alone. No one is joining me. No one is joining me. Well, I do hope for those of you who watch this tomorrow or whenever that it is enjoyable for you. So, yeah. Since I had my evening freed up, I actually just came home from an absolutely wonderful dinner. But the rest of the evening is kind of freed up. And so I thought I would live stream for your New Year's Eve pleasure. Darren and Merritt, hello, you two. Hello, hello. Happy New Year's. I know that Swedish Mom, you are in the new year. Though, Darren, let's see, Darren, you might be. I don't know if you're on Eastern time or not, but a happy new year to you both. Let's see, no, you still wouldn't be because it's not, not for a while. I hope you are both having a lovely time. I was just saying, in the future, greetings to us in the past and our quaint ways. Yes, Swedish Mom. I just came back from a lovely dinner that was only $20 more than than was expected, but it was a very good prime rib dinner. Hello, Lady Spookeria. You've been in the new year for quite a while. And Musy, welcome, welcome. And I promise not to call you Jennifer. I hope you are all having a wonderful time. Oh, it's buffering. Oh dear. Let me see. I'll pull up my little screen. Let's see. Well, it doesn't say it dropped any frames. So, and I've got low latency, so hopefully it won't be a problem. Get rid of... Yeah. Lady Spookeria is also in the future. For those of you who are wondering what Musy's talking about, I say she sounds like Jennifer Tilly. Not looks, just sounds like her a bit. So, yeah, she was a bit offended at first, but yes. Oh, dear. Oh, I'm sure it is dark. Happy New Year, Stacy, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you could all make it. Oh, are you getting buffering too? Let's see. According to me, let's see. Bitrate. I don't know what all that means, but I don't have any dropped frames. No buffering from Musi. Okay. Darn it all. I'm sorry, Swedish Mom. I hope it clears up. It could, I would naturally assume it's my lousy internet, but I don't know. We have 7 people here. Of course, one of them is me, so that I can see what's going on. So, oh, welcome everyone. Welcome. Let's see. Should we get started with a story first? Oh, hey, look. Finally, the super chat showed up. There we go. Now I can see it. Look at that. Now you can see it too. Ha 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 ha. Yes, Musi, if you would like to, that would be wonderful. I tried to let everybody know. I also tweeted it, but, the more that find out, the better, I suppose. Let's see. We'll start off with a quick little story from the Library of Shadows. This one is from Guyo from Ohio. I never noticed the first O in that, so suddenly amusing. And it's entitled Marty. October had arrived with rust and smoke. The new, youthful leaves of spring and summer lie scattered across the streets of town in brown and gold lines. Morning rose from the black asphalt in cotton wisps of dewy fog, the orange glow of the sun setting the whole scene ablaze. I walked down the sidewalk with my father, unzipped my jacket, and let in the cool air. "Starting to warm up," he said, pulling a small black comb from his back pocket and running it through his brown and graying hair. I nodded in agreement. "Starting to. Better enjoy it while it lasts. It'll be winter soon." We walked a few more steps until reaching the narrow entryway, the white door cracked and peeling with age. Above the threshold, stuck to the brick wall, was a red, blue, and white swirled pole. Walking in, the room had a distinct chemical smell. There were 3 barber chairs in a row, but only the one furthest to the right was being used. The other 2 were in different states of disrepair and disregard. A white-haired man sitting in the operational chair looked up from his newspaper and smiled, pushing his glasses back up to the bridge of his nose. He sprang up quickly and moved behind the chair. Holding up the newspaper, he said, "You caught me being lazy. I was in the middle of quite an interesting article." "Sorry I'm a little early," my father said, placing his jacket on the coat rack. The other man raised his arm and pointed to the sign above the door. It read, "If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late." "You're never too early," he said, while reaching around to grab a long black apron. He glanced over at me as I was taking a seat on one of the chairs in the waiting area. "Haven't seen you here in ages. You need a trim?" "Hey, Marty," I said, smiling. "Not today. I'm just here with the old man." Marty shook his head, understandably, and waited for my father to sit down before flinging the apron out and around and back again. He fastened it securely with a bobby pin and turned to the counter behind him to find his tools. Marty had been in the family Sorry, Marty had been the family barber for years. He was my grandfather's barber, my father's barber, and before I started cutting my own hair, my barber. He was kind and funny, always looking for opportunities to crack a joke. Marty was an avid sports fan. He loved the Cincinnati Reds and often bought season passes. To him, there was no greater place to be than the great American ballpark. In fact, the radio in the barber shop, for as far back as I can remember, was always set to AM talk radio. The Reds, it seems, was all they ever talked about. Being older and from a different generation, he was also somewhat racist. He would often reminisce about the old days. I heard him on several different occasions talking about how nice Cincinnati used to be and how it was always a safe town to explore until the blacks moved in. Not wanting to open that can of worms, I would always change the subject. Despite his shortcomings, Marty was a generous man. When I was a kid, after every haircut, he would tell me to go get a can of pop out of the refrigerator in the back, no charge. He also had an old bubblegum machine placed by the front door that charged a penny for a few stale rectangles of gum. If we didn't have any change, he would give us some with a smile. It had been a few years since I had been in his barber shop, but nothing had changed. Everything appeared to be as it was the last time I walked out the door, almost as if it had been frozen in time, waiting for me to come back. "How's business?" I asked, flipping through the pile of magazines on the coffee table. "Oh," he paused, "it's been better. With all of these 5-cut hair plus places springing up, it's hard to make a living anymore." He glanced at me through his glasses. His eyes were sad and almost desperate. "Well, those places lack character," I said. "They're here today and gone tomorrow. You've been here how long now?" "Too long to remember," he grinned. "People just don't go to a barber anymore. Business is as slow as I've ever seen it. All my regulars are either too old to leave their house or they're dead. No offense," he said, looking down at my dad. "I'm not that old yet, Marty." "You're getting there. And you," he said, addressing me. "Either your hair don't grow or you found someone else to cut it for you." "I cut it myself, and my wife fixes it up the back for me. It's nothing personal," I assured him. "Besides, I live 2 hours away now." "Married and moved away," he said, pulling my dad's hair straight and continuing to cut it with his scissors. "What do you think of that?" "I'm proud of him," my dad said, looking at me. "There's worse things he could have done." "Ain't that the truth? Yeah, he looks like he's turned out all right, even if he won't let me cut his hair anymore." I laughed. "You know, you could always retire." "Ha! I'll never leave this place. I'll be cutting hair until I'm dead. And even then I'll probably keep at it." He grabbed a clear bottle filled with blue liquid and squirted some of it onto my father's head. "No, I don't think I'm cut out for retirement." He moved around skillfully, examining its work. He took away what needed to be taken and rearranged the rest to serve his purposes. His hands moved with muscle memory. He talked while working, often looking away as his scissors sliced and cut, but never making a mistake. He was skilled and excellent. "I don't know," I said. "I think you should always make time for yourself. Do something that makes you happy." "Oh, I still do that from time to time. It's funny you bring that up, though. You know, just last night I did something I've always wanted to do." "What's that, Marty?" my father asked. "You know that water tower in town? The one over by the high school." "I climbed it." My dad and I looked at each other and asked almost simultaneously, "You did what?" "I climbed it," he said, swinging his scissor arm in the air. "Why would you do a thing like that for?" my dad asked. "Because I had to. Because I needed a revival. Because when I was young, it's what all the kids would do on a Friday night." His excitement hit a brick wall and faded. Except I was always too afraid. I would stand at the bottom and watch them climb to the top. They would yell and yell for me to join them, but I just couldn't do it. I always chickened out. Well, yesterday I decided Marty was a chicken no more. I went out there and I climbed that thing all the way to the top. Hold still now. My father had begun shaking his head slowly back and forth. "I don't know," he said, moving to the other side. "I needed something to remind me. I needed to show myself that not everything has changed. That maybe there still was that kid inside me, and maybe I could make him climb that tower once and for all." "Well," I paused. "Well, good for you. It takes courage to conquer your fears like that. I don't think I could do it." He smiled and nodded. "One thing's for sure. I can see why everyone wanted to climb that thing all those years ago. It's a beautiful view." He squinted his eyes and looked up. "You can see the whole town. Absolutely breathtaking. But do you know what I discovered?" "What's that?" "Everything really has changed. The town that I saw while I was up on that tower is not the town that I remember. And it occurred to me that no matter how brave I have become, I will never get to see the view that 18-year-old Marty missed out on. It's gone forever." On the radio, someone was discussing a certain player batting average and suggested they would be better off with another team. This grabbed Marty's attention full force and jerked his head towards the back wall. "Ah, what do they know? It's every day with these experts. Don't know why I ever listen to this garbage anymore." Whatever joy he had gleaned from the memory of his midnight adventure fizzled and oozed away. He finished with the scissors, carefully putting them back on the shelf, and grabbed a wooden broom. It was small and brown and fit nicely in the palm of his hand. He brushed away the hair that had piled up on the apron, haphazardly and disorganized. Quickly he seized a small mirror and held it up to my father. "Looks good, Marty. You're getting thin on top. Doesn't take as long to cut as it used to." He laughed. "Well, I appreciate it anyway." I slapped down the magazine I had flipped through, but not really read, and stood and walked towards the door. Taking the wrinkled green bills from my dad, Marty looked at me. "Why don't you pop on over here?" he said, pointing to the fridge next to the radio. "Oh, no, that's okay." He cut me off. No, go get one. It'll go bad before anyone else takes any. And get one for your dad, too." I walked over to the old refrigerator and pulled open its ancient door. The signature crackle of the AM radio buzzed in my ear. The program host spoke of Pete Rose and how baseball would never again see a player as talented. He said it's a different world with different kinds of players. The game just wasn't played the same as it was when old Pete was around, he said. Another man agreed and said he longed for the old days of baseball. "Sure, they all sing, 'Take me out to the ball game,'" the one man said, "but it doesn't mean the same thing as it used to. It doesn't carry the joy and the excitement of going with the dad to the stadium to get peanuts and Cracker Jacks. They just sing it out of obligation. There's no meaning anymore. I long for those old days of baseball." Marty was looking at the ground when I returned with 2 cans of Coke. He pressed his lips together, had a troubled expression on his face. "I appreciate you boys coming in," he said finally. "It was good to see you both." "It was good to see you too, Marty. I tell you what, the next time I need a trim, I'll stop by. 2 hours isn't that far away, and it gives me an excuse to visit the Barrens." He smiled. "Oh, I'll still be here, unless they move me out and put in one of those $5 haircut places. They're just all over the place nowadays." I nodded. "You'll still be here." We said goodbye, and Dad grabbed his jacket. I pulled the old white door shut, and it sealed hard and loud, like the lid of a coffin. Outside, the morning sun had been smothered with pillows of gray clouds. A gentle breeze had delicately danced down from the north. It was the air of cold October nights that made its home around bonfires and football games. "I'm glad you came with me," my dad said, patting my shoulder. "I think Marty needs the company." "It was good to see him. It had been a while," I replied, pulling both sides of my jacket together. We reached the truck, and before getting inside, my dad stopped in front of the box on the sidewalk. He slid in 2 quarters and opened the door and took out a newspaper. Placing it under his arm inside his jacket, he unlocked the truck, and we both climbed inside. The drive home was most uneventful. We talked about different things and places and people, mostly just killing time and catching up, since it had been a few months since my last visit. The fall morning flew by on the other side of the windshield. When there was silence, my mind would shift back to Marty, sitting there alone in his shop, waiting for the next customer who probably wasn't showing up. I thought about how hard it would be getting older and not being able to live in the town of your youth, even though you had never moved away. I had moved away. I gave up my town for a different city, one that was foreign to most people I had grown up with, so I couldn't imagine it being a surprise one day to realize my home was actually a stranger. That somehow, piece by piece, building by building, house by house, everything had been picked up, moved, and replaced with something uncanny. Uncanny because of how eerily similar it was to what it used to be. Close, but different, and therefore unsettling. It's not a realization I would ever want to make. Reaching into his jacket, Dad withdrew the paper and set it on the armrest between us. He had not given up his daily habit of reading the paper, even though that I had shown him how to access the news on his computer. But it was a habit he enjoyed, and I enjoyed it for him. I picked up the paper, unfolded it, and gave it a good shake to even out the creases. My eyes skimmed the headings, running from top to bottom, until the article at the very bottom corner grabbed me by the throat. I tensed up, my airways restricted. "Dad, pull over." "Do what?" "Please, pull over." He frowned but complied, hitting the brake and moving to the side of the back country road. "What is it, son?" I handed him the paper, my finger pointing to the large ink heading on the bottom. He looked at it, furrowed his brow, and shook his head. "Is this today's paper?" "Printed this morning." "He died last night?" "That's what it says." He ran his finger through his hair and looked at his hand. Tiny pieces of hair, freshly cut, clung to his skin. A piece of the hair, curved like a crescent moon, broke loose and dropped to the ground, like an old man falling off a water tower. So quoth this raven. Okay, there's story number 1. I really enjoyed it. It had a real flair of Ray Bradbury to me. Thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm going to have to go back because I look up and it says, "What country is the rest of your husband's body from?" Hello, Monty. Welcome, welcome. And Marianne. And Tales from the Grotto. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Let me just skim up and we'll see. Okay, we're talking about preferred facial hair. Okay. Darren has a beard at the moment. And haircuts. I see where that came from. All right. If there's anything I've missed. Oh, hello, Sexy Grandma Darkness. Good to see you, Karen. Very glad you've all made it. We have 10 people here. I think that's a record for me. My husband has to be clean shaven, so it doesn't really matter, I guess, what I prefer. Oh, yes, yes. Hello, Lou. Welcome all. I hope you guys are all excited for the year 2020. Close, tails, close. I know you have a clean face, Monty, because you show your face, which is wonderful. It's so fun to watch your videos. North Carolina, thank you, Lou. You're getting closer. You're getting closer. Prefer. Do I have a funny accent, Marianne? Ah, Princess Peach. I haven't seen you in quite a while. Welcome. Anyway, yes, yes, yes. I am in for a quiet night, so I decided to share my evening with you. Oh, and Donna showed up. Welcome, Donna. I think facial hair is interesting. Anyway, oh no. My own stream is buffering on my computer. Ooh, I have a lot of drop frames now. Oh, dang. Is it working now? Can you hear me? Good night, good night, good night, Swedish mom. Oh, I shall let Gigi know. She is hiding somewhere in the house. She is a stinker. But she likes to sleep under the Christmas tree. So I don't know what she will do when we take it down. Probably just sleep on the couch. Okay. What is everyone's New Year's resolution, if you have any? I'd like to know. Anything? Oh, and Vanessa, hello, hello, hello. What is your New Year's resolution? Oh, okay, that's not it. 1 hour left. 1 hour left for Monty. I actually have 3 hours left. But I'm probably not going to stream that long. We shall see. We shall see. Okay, are you guys ready for another story? Oh dear. If I cut out, I will start it up again. There'll be another stream. So just so you know, I'm not giving up just yet. I really need a new internet provider. It's sad. It's sad. All right. Let me get all the right things in view. And okay. As far as I know, it's still going. So I've got that up to tell me. And oh, fireworks. How fun, Princess Peach. What time is it where you're from? Let's see. I'm going to see if I can find out why. Oh dear. Well, I'm going to give it a minute before I start reading because it really stinks when it cuts out in the middle of a story. So, oh dear. Let's see, dropped frames, 5,000. Whew. I don't really have any extra programs running. And it's probably really just my sucky. Yeah, I don't have any extra programs. So, you know, it's just my sucky internet. My terrible, terrible internet that hates me. Ugh. Oh, I am so sorry. Mutant artificial intelligence. Yes, I had trouble getting it up and going. Ha ha ha. Welcome, welcome, and a happy New Year's Eve to you. No, but my son might be. That would be my luck. Okay, is it kind of evened out? Has it stopped? Thank you, Monty. I think I'm going to give this story a go. Welcome, Mutant Artificial Intelligence. I'm glad you found the right chat, the right stream. Okay. This one is by Javier Lustanu. Dahlias were gorgeous. Okay. It was telling me the dropped rates were going up, so I had to check. We good? We good, fam? Okay. The dahlias were gorgeous, the pumpkins huge and imposing, the various herbs fragrant and green, structures covered in vines, mossy ponds, huge shady gardens. It really was the highlight of our trip up to that moment. In particular, we were drawn to a huge variety of butterflies, We saw tiger swallowtails and red admirals, but above all, the monarchs were everywhere. They would compete for space on the verbena flowers and get pushed around by the wind like elaborate kites, holding onto a branch until the gust would go away. We were taking tons of photos and short videos, calling each other over to look at this or that. Then I spotted an odd butterfly on a dark red and purple flower that looked like a bruise. The insect was white and fuzzy and very elegant, like some sort of tiny dove. An older local woman with a big, expensive camera slung around her neck told it was a satin, not a butterfly at all. She said it was unusual to see one during the day. She also said her parents called them angels, because back in the day when death was more of an everyday reality, you could often see one resting on a dead body. Some people would assume it was the soul of the deceased, though more than likely they were attracted to the smell of death. My wife sniffed the dark flower and said, "Yeah, that's so weird. That flower's a little stinky." On our way back, my wife complained about a headache, so we set our next activity aside and drove back to the cabin for her to get some rest. Excuse me. She lied down, looking pale, and her sun-kissed cheeks drained of all color. Then, while dozing off, she let loose a huge gasping sound and reached her arms towards me in despair. I realized she was having an allergic reaction. I rifled through her purse bags while she gasped, looking for an inhaler, or it got worse and worse. She was violently flailing and trying to breathe and find anything helpful. I tried to call 911, but I couldn't get a signal, and I paced frantically around the cabin trying to get to the Wi-Fi to work. When I returned to the bedroom, she was completely still, motionless, and a little blue. On her forehead there was a little white moth that instantly flew away. I just snapped. I lost it. I started to cry and pound my fist on the walls. Just a few hours ago, we'd been laughing and enjoying a fun vacation together. And now suddenly I was all alone in the world. I got chills. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. What a pain in the butt. Yeah, drop frames. Is it working now? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oof. Okay. All right. I will continue and hope it works. What had just happened? What would her family think of me? Would the police be suspicious? What was I going to do now? A part of me was grateful we had not had kids yet, even though all our married friends kept telling us how wonderful they are. Then the map landed on the... I wondered, what now? I stared at it through bleary, teary eyes. It paid me no mind as it soaked up the light and warmth of the lamp. I slowly cut my hands around the insect, the angel, and caught it between them. But I was hit by a wave of terror. Had I squashed it? It would be so easy I would not even notice if I had killed it. But I felt something tickling, its satin wings on the palms of my hands. My mood had swung in the other direction. I was manic and euphoric. I actually laughed at the sensation thinking of my wife tickling me when I did not feel like getting out of bed on a weekend. I walked over to her motionless body and placed my cup hands on her forehead. I moved my hands away and the moth landed on her and remained there motionless. Her color was drained and her skin resembled the color of the perfect white moth. I just stared, not knowing what to do next. Then the moth started to fly away, and I tried to push it back onto her, crushing it against her forehead. She had a small dark stain, cross-like, like when we go to Ash Wednesday at our church. I finally let go and said goodbye. That is when she sat up all of a sudden, gasping for air. I instinctually put my arms around her shoulder and held her as she gasped again and again. I was trying so hard. I was so grateful, but that feeling would not last. She whispered something in my ear, so soft it was inaudible. I asked her to speak up, whimpering, "Please, baby, please speak up." And she did. She asked me why. Why what, baby? Why did you bring me back? She promptly went to sleep, but I was worked up with a mixture of grief that all I could do was stare at her shallow breathing body, that mark I'd accidentally smeared on her. In the morning, she silently showered and packed her bags. Occasionally I would hug her or kiss her, but she would not really reciprocate. She would just let me do it without opposing me. It felt like she was a million miles away. During the car trip, I kept asking her what she meant about bringing her back, but she would not respond. Instead, I decided to go into cheerleader mode. I tried to point out cool sights or make little jokes to improve her mood. It's like she was not there, though. All she would do was stare out the window. When we got back to our house, I was starting to lose it. I did not know what I could do. Do you take somebody unresponsive to the hospital? Like, did she have brain damage from not breathing? Was I actively hurting her by pretending everything was normal? Was she actually getting worse? Panic set in, but when I would ask her if she was okay, she would just say, "Yes, let's talk about it in the morning." Once again, she seemed to drift off instantly, almost like flipping off a switch. I was up for a couple of hours, reading medical articles on the internet, but I too started to doze off, losing track of the last paragraph I had read on brain damage and near-death experiences. I finally lied down next to her and put my arm over her gently breathing body. I woke up alone, with the car gone. I called my wife's cell phone, thinking that she had driven herself to the hospital, and her pillow started to buzz. I called her folks, waking them up early in the morning, but they had no idea where she could be. I did not tell them about the near-death experience, just that she left without telling me where she was going. By noon, I was panicking and called the police. They said I'd have to wait 24 hours, so instead I started to call every hospital and clinic in the region. Nobody had seen her. Eventually the police would get involved, and I was questioned again and again. I was their only lead after all. After a few days alternating between people feeling sorry for me and suspicious of me, suddenly everything changed. The troopers in Maine had found our car, abandoned in the middle of a highway that overlooked a field of flowers. They searched the area but found no body. They did not know if they would find a body, given just how much ground there was to cover, even before it turned back into dense woods. We worked under the assumption she was alive, and the police seemed less concerned I could be involved. That night I had an odd dream. In my dream I had woken up to noises and went into the kitchen, where I saw my wife in a long, flowing white robe, carrying a cup of tea. As soon as I saw her, I started to cry and tell her and tell her that I love her again and again. She took a sip of the tea and walked into the living room. I followed her, unable to ever catch up as I was moving into the extreme slow motion. She seemed to not even notice me, sipping tea and pacing about. Then she moved through the double doors into the garden. I slowly moved towards her, desperate to catch up with her and touch her, feel her warmth again. Before I could reach her, she turned and said, "Don't worry, baby. I'm not mad at you. I'm really happy now." The robe around her opened into huge, white, fuzzy wings, feeling her pale nudity beneath it. The wings moved slowly, as if testing themselves, then pushed down hard, lifting her into the air. The gust knocked me over, and within seconds she was barely visible outline on the moon, like a moth drawn to a source of light. She got further and further. I woke up to a ringing noise. It was the police calling my cell phone. They had found her in a patch of dark purple and red flowers in the middle of the woods. There was no sign of a struggle. She was just laid out like she had gone to sleep in the middle of them. Her eyes were bloodshot as though she had suffocated due to a strong asthma attack. The police said they would have never even noticed her had they not been attracted by the fluttering of white moths on the flowers. So quoth this raven. Looks like I'm still having problems, yes? Do, 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 do. Oh my goodness, yes, I can see it's buffering. Oh, can you hear me at all? Give me 1 second. Yes, it is turned on, Tales for the Grotto. I'm going to see if I can fix that even more.